Today I'm going to be talking about emotional intelligence. Many people have heard of the terms book smart and street smart. ElateDaily.com defines book smart and street smart. It states the major distinction between the two is who lies at the center of this knowledge. Street smarts are what a person learns through their personal endeavors, whereas book smarts comes from a lecture or textbook. Today I'm going to talk about street smarts, or as defined by the textbook, emotional intelligence, which is defined as the ability to understand and manage one's own emotions and be sensitive to others. Studies have shown that emotional intelligence is positively linked with self-esteem, life satisfaction, and life acceptance, as well as with healthy conflict management and relationships. To further define emotional intelligence, I will be covering nonverbal reactions, thoughts on introverts, and lastly, cognitive interpretations. I feel as though these topics help show the importance of emotional intelligence and also aid in explaining emotions. The textbook states that not all physical changes accompanying emotions are internal. The textbook lists several examples of nonverbal reactions, which include personal appearance and behavior. There are also blushing, sweating, a distinctive facial expression, posture, different gestures, and different vocal tones. In the textbook, there is a study. In the study, participants were coached to smile. When the participants smiled, they noticed that they felt happy. When they were told to frown, they noticed that they felt sad. The study shows that nonverbal behavior can cause the emotional state. To expand, verbal and nonverbal states of emotion are connected through emotional intelligence. I am an introvert by nature, like a lot of people. I don't necessarily dislike being around people, I just need to take a break from people and recharge. As the textbook states, introverts are usually misunderstood. They are thought of as shy, rather than being adverse to social engagement. Introverts become overwhelmed by too much of it. Introverts are more aware of the world around them. They notice the little things, like nonverbal reactions. In social situations, introverts may notice that something might be a little awkward or different or just off. Extroverts are more likely to communicate verbally and may not pick up on the nonverbal cues that introverts feel. Introverts and extroverts both have emotional intelligence, but each on different levels. They see things a little differently. The mind plays an important role in determining emotional states. The textbook talks about racing hearts and pulses. They are usually connected with fear and panic, but they also closely resemble the physical changes that occur when feeling excitement or joy. The textbook states, if we were to measure the physical condition of someone having a strong emotion, we would have a hard time knowing whether that person was trembling with fear or quivering with excitement. The textbook gives a great example of this. A professor noticed that he was sweating during his lectures. He thought that he was sweating because he was nervous, so he labeled himself as a nervous person. He lists the reasons why he felt nervous and why he was sweating. He noticed that halfway through his lecture, his students started to leave. He thought that was due to the fact that he might be a bad lecturer and that's why his students were leaving. But a student raised his hand and asked if they could leave and stated that the classroom was too hot to be in. He then realized that it wasn't because of him that his students were leaving, but because of how hot the room was. So he wasn't sweating due to nervousness, but because of heat. This is called reprisal. The textbook defines it as rethinking the meaning of emotionally charged events. Sometimes the easiest thing is to take a step back and rethink an experience with a reprisal mindset. To have emotional intelligence, you need to be able to reprise yourself and even others. If you get offended by something someone says or has been done to you, or someone is offended by you, you need to take a look at things through a different mindset and see what truly happened and then apply that to future circumstances. Another example of cognitive interpretations would be the TV shows The Office. In the TV show, there are two characters, Dwight and Jim. Jim seems to have a little more emotional intelligence than compared to Dwight's. Throughout the show, Jim is able to pull elaborate pranks on Dwight because of Dwight's lowered levels of emotional intelligence. For example, one of Jim's pranks involved hiring an Asian actor to pretend to be Jim. Dwight doesn't really buy the act at first, but slowly Jim's actor friend is able to persuade Dwight that he's Jim through the use of emotional intelligence. To conclude, emotional intelligence encircles nonverbal reactions by reading social cues, introverts and extroverts. different levels of emotional intelligence, and lastly, use of rephrasal through cognitive interpretations.